How's it going, everyone? It's 603 Bass. I've got a rod that I need to repair, so I figured I'd go ahead and film the whole process and walk you all through it for anybody that needs to do it themselves. We're going to keep it quick and simple. We've already got our tools laid out. You need at least some form of pliers. You can use forceps too if you want, make it a little bit easier to grab it and hold on to it, especially when applying it. You will need a heat source of some kind. Most people use a lighter. I'm going to use a heat gun because I can make it a consistent and controllable temperature that I can work with so that I can heat this up to remove it and to heat up the glue to put the new guide tip on. I've got a razor blade so I can clean this up after I remove the guide tip. And then I've got a Fuji guide tip repair kit that you can pick this up pretty much anywhere. I believe I got this at Walmart. I also found it at my local hardware store. You can find it at Bass Pro. You can find these pretty much everywhere. Those are the basic tools you're going to need to go ahead and make the repair on this. And additionally, if you happen to snap the tip of your rod too, this process will work as well. And after you get your heat gun warmed up, I'm going to carefully take the rod and start applying heat. We don't want to get too close to it, nor do we want to get on the rod blank itself because you really don't want to burn your rod. We're really just trying to heat up the guide itself so that we can loosen up the adhesive underneath it and then gently pry it off. Not going to lie, it came off a little bit ugly. It seems like it didn't really want to let go, so I may have actually lost a little bit of the rod tip inside that, but that's okay. We're going to clean it up. We'll go ahead and put the new guide tip on there. We should be good. I'm going to go ahead and gently, very carefully and slowly remove the old adhesive, the epoxy that was holding that guide tip on. So we get this cleaned up so we make room for the next one to go on. Once you've got your repair kit opened up, go ahead and find one that is the best fit for your rod. In this case, mine happens to be the smallest one that we're going to use. It's snug without being too snug. There's definitely going to be enough room for some glue to get in there and make it a nice snug fit. You don't want something that's going to be too sloppy if we go ahead and grab the biggest one. That's got a lot of play in it. We don't want that because you're going to have to try and fill all that extra space with glue and you're just asking for a world of trouble. It's going to make things a lot more difficult for you. Go ahead and once you've found which one is going to be the best fit, dry fit it and make sure that you've removed anything that's going to be in the way. I still have a little bit of old epoxy here and even a little bit of thread. So we're going to go ahead and remove that before we move forward with putting on this new tip. Now that I've got that cleaned all up again, go ahead and give it another dry fit. Make sure everyone's happy. Make sure you can seat it down nice. And then keep in mind that when you're going to do this, you are going to need to make sure it gets all lined up. So you want to make sure there's no debris or any kind of burrs of any kind that's going to slow down this process of when you put it back on and you need to rotate it to get everything lined up with the following guides. Okay, so now that we got our rod tip cleaned up, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take the new guide that we're going to use and we're going to preheat the tube. And I'm going to grab it by one of the bridge very gently because I don't want to damage this whatsoever. And we're going to heat up the tube, not the guide, just the tube. We'll get that preheated so that when it comes time to put it on, it's already a little bit warm. It's going to help melt the glue and get, a better adherence to the rod tip itself. This is where using something like surgical pliers may come in handy because then you can put it down and it's not going to fall off. I don't have any, so we're going to make do with what we have. So again, we're going to gently preheat this, and then from there, we're going to come over, grab our glue from our repair kit, and we're going to very gently heat this up enough that we can just coat the tip of this just a little bit. We're going to come back, preheat that guide tip a little bit more, throw it on, line everything up, and we're going to be done. Just going to warm it up enough where I can see that it's starting to melt and deform. We're going to just gently go around it. Nice even coating. We're going to do this kind of in two parts. I'm going to warm that back up a little bit. At the same time, I'm going to warm the barrel. I don't want to warm it a ton because I don't want it to run. And more importantly, I don't want to burn that adhesive. Go ahead and give that a shot. That's seated nicely. So now we're going to do the best we can to line that up with the guide below it. And that's it. Now once this is done and seated and everything's dried, you can see there's quite a glob of that adhesive that's left over because it is a fairly tight fit. So we're going to come back with the heat gun after that and warm that up just enough, and I'll clean it up with like a Q-tip or something so it doesn't have this big nasty glob. And then I'll even touch it up a little bit so it's even got a little bit of overlap. And that's it. That's all it takes to repair a broken guide tip. So hopefully you found that informative and helpful. Please let me know otherwise if it wasn't. So thank you all for watching. Greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you around in the next video.